This is a message from your guides reading for the child. All right, so I have 3 crystals here. I have my obsidian, which I'm going to go ahead and use to surround us in some protective space, and then I'll get into the other 2. Okay, I've got some kind of thought form that they're showing me. I don't know what it is though. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next crystal. So this is my lapis lazuli. So obsidian, this is really good for absorbing negative energies, protecting your aura. So a lot of psychic protection. It's also pretty grounding as well. Then I have my lapis lazuli here, and this is throat and also third eye. So a lot of psychic abilities with that stone, and then with this one as well. This one also has a lot of earth energies, clairvoyance, claircognizance, and healing as well. And specifically, it heals with earth energies, so it's very grounding, very calming. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and surround you with this one as well. So obviously, this thought form was there during all the other readings that you have had, and your guides are bringing it up now. So whenever I'm surrounding the person in protective space, I always start kind of picking up on things. But it's always whatever the person's guides actually want to reveal, whether it's a block or it's some kind of strength in the person, or just they want to say something in general kind of thing. Okay, so this thought form is definitely really connected to the throat chakra and things that you speak, things that you talk about. Keeps looking like an old woman over and over. It looks like this old woman. And kind of like, almost like somebody who would constantly cut someone else down is the kind of feeling that comes with it. It's like I keep seeing this thing. It's like she's crossing her arms like this. It's like there's constantly something wrong, not with her, but with someone that she is observing. So I'm guessing you. It's your thought form, so I'm guessing you. Obviously, this could be a thought form about you doing that outwardly, but I just don't really pick up on that from it. So this is somebody talking. Um, and it's definitely somebody female. Somebody female that you got this from. But this could even be a generational thing that passed down. So this could be like a mother or a grandmother, but you definitely got this from the female side of your family for sure. And she's just kind of cutting everybody down. Um, Obviously, she's your thought form, so she's specifically cutting you down. So this is like a voice in your head about all the stuff that's wrong with you. Um, but it feels like, okay, it's one of two things. Either there's a woman in your family who did that with you a lot, who was constantly cutting you down, and someone like an authority kind of figure is probably like a mother, most likely someone like that, or could even be a grandmother, somebody, but somebody like that, it feels like more in a direct line, someone older. So either they're doing that, they're cutting you down incessantly, or just making you feel really judged all the time, like there's something kind of wrong with you. Either that, or this is someone that did that to themselves like a lot, and you ended up picking up on it, or it could be a combination of both of those things. And a lot of times, not always for sure, but there are obviously times when someone has that and they start doing it to someone else. But always, if there's someone who is doing that to someone else, they definitely have that towards themselves. Whether they're consciously aware of it or not, they're doing that to themselves, and they definitely think negatively of themselves, even if it's not like they're having conscious thoughts like that all the time. They might not necessarily be aware of a kind of deep feeling that they have about themselves. They might want to cover that over, but it's definitely there if they're putting it out in a way like that. Then you have other people who have that with themselves, but then with other people, they want to constantly overlook things. They don't want to say anything bad about other people, but they're willing to say it about themselves all the time. So that's been more the issue that you have had. So it can go either way. But definitely someone who is putting that out has it towards themselves. But this is definitely coming from somebody. So some female person, you can think about who exactly. But someone in your family for sure that this thing is going back to. And I keep picking up on it standing behind you and kind of close to you as well. So it seems like this is a little bit more of an active thought form. Um, and it kind of knows that I'm talking about it right now because I could feel this energy all of a sudden. Sometimes thought forms really do not like when you're talking about them. They're like aware all of a sudden that something wants to get rid of them. This is pretty old too. It doesn't feel like it's from this lifetime. So whoever this is going to, even though it was almost seeming like a kind of generational thing, it's kind of odd because I feel like it's actually going back to a past lifetime. And I feel like you got this from that person in a past lifetime. But then it also feels like it's coming up as a generational thing. Okay, so this is probably just saying that people kind of in your family line, down the women, they have this same kind of reoccurring thing. But it feels like this specific person, feels like this is going back to a past lifetime with them specifically, where you first ended up with this thought form, this thing. Okay. So one way to help with getting rid of this is just to associate it. Think of who this goes to, and then just keep, anytime that you have a thought like that towards yourself, just associate it with this other person. This isn't mine, this is so-and-so's. Or, wow, that's terrible that you think that about yourself, so-and-so, kind of thing. Because you need to realize, the thing is, a lot of times they try to send an emotion. They'll evoke like a feeling, and they need to do that. That's like a technique that they have of surviving, because if they can evoke like an emotion, then we think, oh, this is mine. We'll identify with it more. If it was just some thought, and there was no emotion that was sent with it, we wouldn't identify with it at all. We wouldn't care about it. Same as like if you have a thought form that's saying to you, go eat a sandwich now, it's not going to be the same if you don't feel some kind of feeling in your stomach along with it. Like, so there's almost this kind of desperate type of feeling to attach to it. You need to have that sandwich now. You need to agree with this thought because there's an emotion attached to it. So it feels like it needs your attention. And so you're not just going to let it go. Whereas if it were just some passing thought, it would be much easier to let go. But if it has that emotion that is along with it, it's almost like the emotion is like a pull. It's like this thing, this string that's kind of dangling there, and so it pulls us, it pulls us more into the thought. So we're going to dive into this thought more and agree with it more, because it has this disturbing emotion that's attached to it. So that's one of those things that we have to be really aware of. So that thought form could send you something else completely. And it's not really about the thought. It's about the emotion. And it's the fact that the emotion is disturbing. But let's say you have that about something totally different, okay? Let's say that the thought form isn't saying something about your appearance, for instance. Let's say it's saying something about your house's appearance, right? It's saying, wow, I don't like this color, and it's nagging about this and nagging about that, and maybe the house is completely fine. Maybe it's brand new, it doesn't really need any repairs, or maybe it's not, but it's in good condition, it doesn't really need to be looked at in any kind of negative way. In other words, it's not like something needs to be repaired. Obviously, if something needed to be repaired, then we would need to look at the house and go, oh, this window this window is broken, this window needs to be repaired, right? But if all of the windows are, you know, in good working condition, then what's the point of that? And then if we are talking about something with us, well, maybe there is something that needs to be improved upon, but there's different ways that you can observe that you can say that same thing. You can realize that you can do better in a certain area, or you can realize that you're able to do that and work towards it, or you can feel like you can't do that. And you can also feel like it's not even about getting better, it's just the fact that you're not where you would want to be, and just cut yourself down all the time. And then, of course, if it's an appearance type of thing, that's just silly. Appearance doesn't have to do with anything other than your own perception. Like, for instance, like with the baby, for instance, so our baby, Wolf and mine. So sometimes we'll have somebody, usually we'll have people saying, oh, he looks just like Wolf, he looks just like Wolf. We get that all the time. But then sometimes someone will turn around and say, I don't know, to me he looks more like Isis. Once in a while you'll get that. Not usually. But then it was funny, because then I'm kind of looking at him and I'm like, I don't know, I kind of see myself there too. Not that either of us care about this kind of thing, but it's just like, you're observing something, right? But then I think, but not the eyes. No, the eyes are Wolf's. So then, literally like an hour later, somebody is saying the exact opposite. They're like, the eyes, that's Isis. I'm like, oh, okay, this is like, everybody has a different perception when it comes to appearance. So appearance is just completely a perception thing. It doesn't matter what it is. There is no general view of something ever. There's no one way to ever observe a single thing. There never is. Every single person is going to look at that same thing, and they're going to see it from themselves. They're going to see it from their own beliefs. You know, I have some reason that I'm seeing this specific thing with the baby, right? And someone else has all their reasons that they're seeing this specific thing. It can be the color blue. You know, everybody is going to see that same color a little differently. Some people don't like it, some people love it, some people can't stand it. So, you know, it's no matter what you do with the same thing, everybody is going to have a totally different perception of that thing. Even if it's a similar perception, they're all going to have a different slant on it, right? But obviously, you're never going to get only similar perceptions either. You're always going to have a variety of perceptions. And there's nothing that anybody can do about that. There's somebody who thinks, you know, something negative of me when I'm doing readings, or negative about our YouTube channel, and then there's somebody who just loves watching all the readings, and there's somebody who just loves watching all of Wolf's videos and all the videos that come out on our channel, you know. It's all a perception thing, and there's just nothing that you can ever do about that. So when it comes to perceiving yourself and the way that you perceive yourself, what your guides are saying is that you have to first understand that it's neutral. Because it's like you can look at a certain thing, and especially if you have like an emotion with it, or you just have a strong belief for some reason, you can look at that and you can think that it isn't neutral. You can look at that and be like, that is this way. And It's just you don't like it for this certain reason or that certain reason that has to do with your own belief. But it's like you just assume that everybody naturally sees that same thing that way. Like there is some kind of like overruling view of that thing. And most people are going to see it that exact same way, or the large majority will. Whereas probably only a small handful of people are going to see it that way, but you could end up attracting just that small handful to yourself because of how much you're putting this thought out and this emotion out. So they're saying that that is the thing to get first, to understand first, that when it comes to perceptions of ourselves, it all really is neutral. It's not some general view, like everybody would perceive you this positive way or this negative way. And then there are these things in the middle that are neutral. Nobody really cares about them, or everybody would have a different opinion on those things, but not on this or not on that. When really all of those things are all neutral, and you can't change anybody's opinion about those things. Like you can talk to them and you can try, but in the long run, it's up to them whether they are going to trust your opinion over their own and change their opinion, or they're not going to. So you can really only fix your own mind, your own thoughts, your own emotions. So they're saying that those are two things to understand. So firstly, that this is coming from someone else. And then secondly, that it really all is neutral. And then the other thing to realize is that it's not about the thing itself, it's about the emotion. We could be talking about pizza, or we could be talking about a house. And if you have a strong negative emotion, that's the thing that you're really caring about. That's caring about, and that's the thing that you're carrying with you. So you could be talking about a t-shirt or thinking about that, but if you have that disturbing emotion, you're not going to like it, no matter what you're thinking and feeling about. So it can attach itself to a certain thing, and it really seems like it's about that. And that's what's disturbing you. But the emotion is the thing that's disturbing you. The emotion is the thing that you don't like, not the thing that this thought form is placing it over, not the thing that the thought form is saying it's about, because it isn't really about that thing. It's about the emotion itself. You could feel that same emotion about your car breaking down, or you could feel that same emotion on a bright sunny day. You know, your car is working fine and there's no reason to even be thinking, even be feeling the emotion. There's not even really a thought with the emotion, but you're not going to like the emotion. So they're saying that it's never about the thing itself, and that's really what gives power to it. It's the emotion. And making the emotion about a certain thing is what gives that certain thing power, in a sense, where it can be about that certain thing. Now that certain thing is disturbing because we've added this disturbing emotion. If your car breaks down, like there are a million different reactions that you can have. Their car can break down, they can be with a group of friends, and now another thing happens, their car breaks down, and they could burst out laughing and think it was hysterical, and they could have the best time walking through the rain now that their car has broken down. They could. That's a scenario that I could see, you know, that can happen. It's never about the thing itself, it's about the emotion. If you have a happy emotion about something that could be perceived as negative, it isn't negative anymore. But the same thing with positive. So the car breaking down is a neutral thing. It isn't really a negative thing or a positive thing. Um, but we can associate it with something negative, or again, we could think it's hysterical and think it's just so funny, the best thing ever, and now it's that. So it's never the thing itself. Like there's like so many scenarios that I could say, and for some reason I feel like I'm supposed to bring up more scenarios. Like Wolf, the first day that we were texting each other like crazy, he was feeding some birds and he ends up with like 20 birds pooing all over him. And then that's actually in Canada, that's like a form of good luck if you have birds just chatting all over you. But to him, it was really funny. He was laughing about it hysterically, whereas someone else, if birds did that to them, right, they would be so angry, or they could end up depressed and crying. They could feel so many different things over that. He thought it was funny. He was laughing at it. I was laughing too. Or even like on a lot of hikes and things, when I used to go out hiking, and I didn't get to do it very much. Anytime that I would get really muddy, or like I would fall, or I would get scrapes all over, I thought it was so great. I thought it was like the most adventurous thing. I loved getting scraped. I loved getting bruised. Whereas other people who were on the same hike, if they fell, they hated falling. They couldn't stand falling, or they couldn't stand getting scraped and bruised. To me, it wasn't a negative thing. It was a positive thing. So it's, and that's something that, that's something that usually you're taught to think of as a negative thing, because it's associated with pain, because you're scraping yourself or bruising yourself or you're falling over. But it doesn't have to be looked at in that way. It really doesn't. There's still 1,000 different ways, way more than that. There's a myriad of ways that anybody can look at a million different things. They're all going to look at it in a different way. They're all going to have a different reason for seeing it negatively, or the same with positively. They're all going to have a different reason for if they were to see it positively. They're all going to have a different reason for if they see it the way that it is, just neutrally, and they don't really think anything of it or associate anything with it. So that's something that they want you to really take, and really understand, is that it's all neutral. So it's more like observe the way you're feeling. You don't like the way you feel. So acknowledge the feeling, but then at the same time realize that it goes to someone else and it's their feeling. It's not your feeling. And it's their thought. It's not your thought. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm I'm going to do another pass here. Okay, so I'm going to use the lapis lazuli this time. Okay, so I'm just going to work on clearing some of this a little bit. But this was also in the heart chakra. I know I mentioned the throat and it was having to do with things that you were agreeing with or that you were saying. But agreeing with something and having mental thoughts about it, that is kind of like thinking it to yourself. So even if you're not always saying this stuff out loud, you've strengthened it in this area by some of the kind of out loud thoughts that you've had in your head, the loud thoughts. But the heart chakra as well, and I actually feel like it started in the heart chakra area. I feel like that's where it started developing. So again, this is an emotional thing. It goes back to an emotion. And then I feel like as it grew, it came up more into this area. And I feel like it's pretty old now. And I feel like it's taking up a lot of space in those areas. They're showing me the infinity sign all of a sudden. And then they're reminding me of some other question about, oh, right. Oh, the group, the guides. Oh, I don't know what that question was. I'll look this up really quick. Was it Orion the group was from? Or maybe I'm getting this, confused. Okay, I'm just gonna ask them this really quick. I know this was how many of them there were. And I keep getting the number 5 over and over. I'm probably still going to look that up just so I can see exactly what the question was, but I know it had to do with the number of guides that were in a certain group. And there's 5 of them specifically in that group. Okay, so our time is definitely up now. Okay, so thank you so much for another reading, and I will see you next week for the next one. Namaste.